Well, hello to all of you from around the world. I want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Soulivity Today. We're broadcasting live from our studio right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Westley Johnson, and whether you're at home, driving, or even at work, we are always glad you're here with us. We have, oh man, such an amazing show for you today and a special guest for you. Our special guest today is MORA. She's a somatic experiencing practitioner, somatic trauma healer and coach, and a Buddhist spiritual counselor. Her work has helped numerous individuals resolve their trauma through a combination of neurobiological approaches and spirituality, enabling them to live better, happier, safer, and more fulfilling lives. Ife, I'm so glad you are back with us, girl. How have you been?
I'm very well, thank you. And thank you so much, Ryan, for having me back. It's my honor to be here. Thank
Oh
you.
man, no, it's our honor. We go back and forth. No, it's my honor. No, my honor. No, my honor.
Yes.
No,
The state of gratitude.
absolutely. Listen, we're continuing our series on how to manifest your best life, the process of somatic healing. And when it comes to creating a better life for ourselves, having a process of awakening and healing deep pain we carry inside ourselves, Ife, you've said this before, it leads to more clarity, more self-confidence. And, we can kind of see that light at the end of the tunnel for like a new day. And so I'm so glad. I highly recommend people go back and watch our first two parts of this, and then it kind of brings you up to today. So I'm excited. This is such good stuff.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
I'd like to begin our conversation with a question about, this importance between a connection between mind, body, and spirit. We've kind of talked, off and on about that in the first two parts. And this is an important aspect that includes what you're going to go into a little bit later around somatic healing. So I want to just start and get people grounded. From your
Yeah.
perspective, what does this connection look like to you?
So the mind, body, spirit, and so somatics and somatic healing is a mind body connection awareness method or modality of practicing embodiment in order to heal. And so practitioners like me who have more of a spiritual background, right? So I grew up Buddhist, and so I integrate a lot of Eastern philosophy and indigenous Mexican indigenous philosophy into my work. I like to integrate the spirit as well. It's important for me because in the West and in most of our societies that have been influenced by the West, we're really prone to think only about the mind, to be in the mind, to focus on the mind. And so and this is an error. This is a grave error because we forget about the body and we forget about the spirit,
Mm,
right? And
mm,
so we think about the mind constantly of, oh, how can I change my mind? And if I change my mind, then everything will be better, right?
yeah,
Or we just focus on the body. Oh, let me get fit, or let me, kind of be nutritious and healthy. And it's just about the body, and it's forgetting about the mind and the importance of the mind. Or maybe we focus just on the spiritual aspects of ourselves. But the problem with really focusing on spirituality is that we're not grounded when we're just focusing on spirituality. We're
hmm,
bypassing and we're not really feeling into what it means to be embodied, which means if you're embodied, you're feeling what it means to be human. You're feeling all of your emotions in the present moment, which is very, very important for healing. Yeah.
you know, I love this because a lot of times on a lot of the shows, when I'm talking about my personal journey, I always say that, what I've learned is I'm a spiritual being living a human experience, right? And that you can't just detach yourself from the human part because that's the playground. That's where all the lessons are learned. That's where the growth comes, right? And
Yeah.
expansion, right? And so I love the fact that you're saying, hey, all these things are connected and
They're all
that
connected.
right? And that it's not about balance, it's about having all that experience in you and you bringing it in from a feeling standpoint, right? Oh man.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
I'm also
And if
thinking
I
about, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, and if I may, Brian, trauma throws us out of connection with mind, body, and
Mm,
spirit, right?
mm,
I do believe we are born with alignment to mind, body, and spirit. But what happens with trauma is that trauma pushes us out of our body. It pushes out of the experience of alignment with mind, body, and spirit. It keeps us frozen in events, keeps us frozen in the past, and keeps us frozen in time. So,
wow.
in order to really come back into alignment with mind, body, and spirit, it's necessary to go into the body and find those internal blocks, which are the unresolved trauma or prolonged stress, and start to resolve it and start to heal it. Once we do
Mm,
that, like you mentioned, the expansion, there is the space in the expansion and the restoration of hope and life vitality that then we're able to connect with again and discover, wow, my mind is connected to my body, my mind and body is connected to my spirit. They're all important and they're all needing me to be aware of the existence and the connection between them. So it's a really important part that we focus on healing the trauma and really resolving that kind of prolonged stress that lives in the body, that gets stored in the body in order to find our way back to that alignment.
do you find with your clients when you're talking to them about this, that part of the awareness that maybe they come into is that they're trying to hide these parts of themselves that they haven't healed?
So I would say that it's not that they're trying to hide, but that to re-enter the body can be a very scary experience because
Mm,
trauma
mm,
is is fear that pushes us out of our bodies. And
yeah.
a tool that we use to survive is dissociation. Dissociation is actually a very powerful tool that we use when we're experiencing something that's too traumatic and overwhelming for our bodies and our minds to experience. And so we dissociate, taking ourselves out of the experience. But this becomes a kind of way, a kind of reflex that we rely on. And so we stay outside of the body, dissociating using coping mechanisms because it
Right.
can be very scary to be in the body. And so what I find with when I start working with people is that we have to go into the body very slowly because to go into the body can it really fast can be overwhelming and
Hmm.
re-traumatize a person. So we go in slowly and we start to get with curiosity, explore what is there. We use our minds and our spirits to go into the body very slowly with curiosity. What's there? What can I discover? Right? And then come out. And then go in again. And next time it's a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. Peter Levine calls that
Hmm.
titration in
Yeah.
somatic experiencing. And so this allows a person to feel safety again within the body, which is an
Mm,
important part is feeling safety within the body and exploring what it means to feel safe within the body because our bodies are our home, our bodies are our first home, and so homes need to feel safe in order for us to feel calm and relaxed and regulated.
ooh, I'm loving that, right? That this entirety of ourselves is our home, right?
Mhm.
Mind, body, and soul, right? And so
Yes.
if we are in this traumatic fear, right? We're just in fight and flight. When we're at that back part of our brain that's just like ringing the bells and all that kind of stuff, and we either want to run away or fight, right, or battle,
Yeah. Hmm.
and that's not living, right? And
Yeah.
so there's no other room for us to have this really peaceful, tranquil, joyful kind of life because we're still in that space, even though we may not be conscious of it, right? Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
man, um, do you subscribe to the idea that each piece has its role to play in our lives? Like the mind has a role to play, The body, of course, has its role to play, and our spirit has a role to play, and that it's each one of those times each other equals this life on this side of the equation.
Mm. In connection, if they're separate, if we live within the states of mind being separate from the body, or soul or spirit being separate from the mind and body, then we suffer. And that's what a lot of Eastern philosophies believe. That's what Buddhism believes. And that's what we believe in, this kind of neurophysiological approach to healing trauma. This not the mind-body embodiment approach to healing trauma. We suffer when the connection is lost. Our nervous systems are dysregulated when the connection is lost. The brain becomes disorganized when the connection is lost. And so if we're able to experience in a very mindful way, right, that comes from Buddhism, the mindfulness practice, in a very mindful way of everything we experience in life, we are using our minds and our bodies and our spirits to have this experience. It's a very powerful way to live. And it also reduces suffering significantly. And it also creates a healthier body, a healthier mind, and a healthier spirit. You have optimal health when you're able to really be conscious and aware and attuned to, I want to experience life with this connection between mind, body, and soul or spirit. Right? And so we're able to really fully engage, feel safety within our bodies and within the world, and feel safe enough to explore the world, get curious about the world, have adventures, be in social connection with other people, have discoveries, right? Really kind of play around with the limits of your expansion. And it's such a wonderful way to live, because we find within that we can really kind of discover who we truly are. And who we truly are is not suffering. Who we truly are, our authentic state, it's not our survival physiology of fight, flight, or if we can't flee or fight, we freeze and shut down. This is not who we are authentically. This is the way we've been designed to survive. And it's beautiful and it's intelligent and it's wisdom of our bodies and nervous systems and brain, but it's not who we are authentically. And so when we're able to live a very mindful life and attuned to, I want to experience life with this connection and alignment to mind, body, and spirit, we're able to live this wonderful state of living with less suffering. And when we experience stress, we experience it, but we come out of it with more ease. We don't get stuck in those stressful states.
All right. I'm going to be pulling out the handkerchief, the white handkerchief, in a minute. Because you preaching over here.
You're going to take me to church.
No, you taking us to church. Shoot. That's that Detroit again, that Detroit connection. Listen, Ife and everyone, listen, we're going to take a quick break. We've got more of all this goodness coming up in just a second, but we just need to take this quick break. But we also wanted to let everybody know, listen, here in the United States, February celebrates the history of African Americans and their legacy, which is part of the fabric of this nation. Now, each day we air Soulivity Today, we'll be giving you guys moments of Black history to commensurate these great American heroes. So enjoy this, and we'll be back with more of Soulivity Today in just a few moments.
On August 28, 1963, 250,000 people gathered in the nation's capital for the historic March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. The march rallied Americans to stand up against the continuing political and social injustices African Americans still faced 100 years after emancipation. The march took place at a critical moment in the civil rights movement. Tension and racial unrest had been building up throughout the year, with anti-segregation demonstrators making headlines in Alabama and President John F. Kennedy announcing his intention to pass civil rights legislation. The timing was right for a massive demonstration. Due to security concerns, internal marshals were trained to ensure order within the crowd. But as it turned out, the marchers chose peace, not violence, that sunny Wednesday. The event featured speeches from prominent leaders and musical performances by Josephine Baker, Joan Baez, Bob Dylan, Mahalia Jackson, and many others. The march is probably best remembered for Martin Luther King Jr.'s acclaimed "I Have a Dream" speech. But we bet you didn't know the real story behind those famous words. King was the last speaker that afternoon, but not because he chose to be. King only spoke last that day because no one else wanted to. When organizers of the march debated who would speak when and for how long, none of the other speakers wanted the last slot because they figured most of the news crews would head out by mid-afternoon. King agreed to go last and to limit his remarks to only 4 minutes. And he didn't have to worry about not making the news. The audience gladly stuck around for his 16-minute speech. And you might be surprised to learn that King hadn't even intended to talk about his now famous dream that day. During a pause in his prepared speech, Mahalia Jackson called out from behind the podium, "Tell him about the dream, Martin." She was referring to a theme King had touched on in a speech 2 months earlier in Detroit. Honoring her request, King departed from his prepared remarks and delivered the legendary speech we all remember today. Historians believe that the marches and King's speech were important catalysts in passing the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Today, a memorial marks the spot where Martin Luther King described his dream of a better America in one of the most influential and memorable speeches in American history.
Hi there, this is Brian with Soulivity.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by Soulivity. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by Soulivity is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you can learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life, including your mind, your body, and your soul. So how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support and being with us along our journey of expansion. I hope you enjoy the Aspire Academy by Soulivity today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life. Well, we're back here with more on Soulivity today as we continue our series on how to manifest your best life through the process of somatic healing with MORA, somatic trauma healer and educator. Ife is taking us to church today as we talk about a lot of this stuff. I'm about to call you Reverend Deacon Doctor MORA in a minute, because that was some good stuff. Seriously, want to talk about this other piece of, we're talking about the connection between mind, body, and soul, and this kind of thing. And part of this is us becoming self-aware and conscious, like fully conscious, not sleepwalking, fully conscious about all the things that are going around us. But there always also comes a time to do something, right? We've got to take some action. Can you tell us about the importance of this piece of it? Like, okay, we're led to do something, so we got to get off our butts and go out here and do something. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard to
Oh,
take
oh man.
action, especially when you're very immobilized and shut down or collapsed. And a lot of people are experiencing coming out of, we're still in a pandemic, but coming out of the pandemic, a lot of compassion fatigue, a lot of burnout, and it's hard to mobilize into taking action. So, taking action means first we have to build safety in the body. And the way we do that is little by little every day. We literally search for areas inside the body that feel safe. For example, oh, do my fingers feel safe today? Do my arms feel safe today? Do my legs feel safe today? How do I know they feel safe? Because maybe they feel strong, they feel resilient, they feel like they can maybe hold my body up today, right? And so, first, we need to kind of feel safe in the body. As we
Mhm.
begin to feel safe in the body, then we can start taking little bits of action towards, maybe we
Mm.
buy a book to help us, maybe we do a course to help us. I love this course work that you're presenting with Soulivity. Maybe we do sign up for a free course. Maybe we then start talking to a somatic practitioner and really resolving our unhealed trauma, right? Learning
Mhm.
techniques to reduce our stress levels. Um, and to be able to be with big emotions. So that's taking action as well. And then I think the biggest part, once we are able to accomplish that, one of the most beautiful ways and fulfilling ways that we can take action is being of service, right? To really be
Mm.
of service to community and to other individuals. And maybe that means you're of service to one person first. And then
Mm.
maybe you can then be of service to a small group and then a larger group. Because when
Yeah.
we're of service, it takes us out of our kind of selfishness, our kind of self immersed states, and it allows us to connect with community in order to be able to make sure that we're all thriving, we're all we're all in this together, thriving,
Yeah.
right? Because if one person is not really cared about, that can affect a whole community, right? If a
Absolutely.
community is not cared about, that can affect a whole society, a whole nation. So it's really important that we take time to take action, to be of service and help other people out, and not just for profit, but that we're able to do this with just the kind of goodness of our hearts, and just really the altruism of who we are, of our character, really kind of
Right.
wanting to reach out and make sure, is this person okay? Can I check
Yeah.
in with this individual?
Yeah.
Can I see them? Because we all want to be seen, we all want to be
Mhm.
heard, and we all want to be listened to. And just to be there, Peter Levine says, being an empathetic witness, if we're able to be there as an empathetic witness, that can change a person's complete state. It
Mm.
allows a person to feel that they have something to live for. And it's so, so,
Mm.
so important. But
Right.
being of service with boundaries. So we don't burn ourselves out, we don't wear ourselves out, and we also allow other people to hold themselves accountable for their own healing as well, which is
Yeah.
what boundaries are able to do for ourselves
Yeah.
and for others. Yeah.
I'm again, we are such an alignment on this because,
Mhm.
I tell people that, you first learn, you go through this process of self-awareness and healing as well, and forgiveness. And
Mhm.
that can lead you to that thing that just excites you about how you want to live your life every single day, that passion, right? We talk about this word passion a lot. But that's just the first stage. The second stage is to actually use that passion in a way that's of service to others in our communities. And that just supercharges everything about that thing, whatever it is, right? Doesn't mean that you don't make money and all this kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
what it does means is that you're moving into a higher level of living, which is, it's just not about me. It's about
Yeah.
all of us, because we're, at the end of the day, we're all connected, right?
Mhm.
Um I lo-
Absolutely.
I I love this thing around that this also leads you into a space of accepting that you also deserve, and it is your birthright to experience love and joy and peace and tranquility in all this. Can you talk a little bit about that piece too? Like, as you take action, you also learn this lesson as well?
Absolutely. So when we're able to take action towards healing ourselves, right? In order to really kind of be the best version of ourselves we can possibly be, not perfectionism, but to be able to really live in a full way, in a fully kind of, realized way.
Hmm.
We're able to connect with and attune to, wait a minute, I deserve to be happy. I deserve joy. I can
Mm.
feel pride. That's totally fine to feel pride. Actually, it's so
Hmm.
healthy to feel pride.
Right.
I deserve love. I
Mm.
deserve a fulfilling career. I deserve to have financial security. I deserve to eat well, to eat healthy. I
Oof.
deserve to
Oof.
live in a beautiful home. I deserve to feel strong and fit in my body. It really comes down to, if we feel like we deserve to be, like, to really fully experience prosperity
Hmm.
in all
Hmm.
of its beauty and glory, right? Because it's this kind of
Yeah.
the shame piece that we talked about last time. The toxic
Mm.
shame will wear us down and we won't even realize. And a lot of that toxic shame is stemming from trauma. And so we
Mm.
kind of, after the traumatic experience and the trauma kind of living in our bodies for so long, it starts to wreak havoc and create this kind of, this belief system, this internal critic and belief system of, I'm not deserving. There's something wrong with me. I'm defective in some way. I'm bad. And so we have to heal the trauma so we can heal it and soften the toxic shame and attune to and come into alignment with, because it's never gone. It's always there. The
Right.
joy, the realization that we deserve, it's always there. It's always right there. It's the gem inside that's a little bit hidden and covered from this kind of toxic shame, the block
Yeah.
of trauma, right? So we heal and we
Yeah.
reveal that gem that's been lying right there all the time. We connect with that and it reveals to us, I'm deserving of all these wonderful things that life has to offer.
Mm, mm, mm. Oh man, thank you for that. Thank you for
Mhm.
that. Again, I think one of the most detrimental things that we do to ourselves is say that I am not worthy or I am not deserving, because you can be doing all this work that's out here, and you could be making some strides, and then it's like a car going 60 miles an hour that hits a brick wall, right? It's like boom, and you just hit it and you don't know why. And that's because there's still this thing there that you learned about when you were a child, that you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, you're not deserving enough, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so thank you for
Yeah.
that. And so
And if
y-
I may, Brian, I'd like to
yeah.
just say
Hmm.
that I don't want people to beat themselves up
Yeah,
if
yeah,
if they're
yeah.
if
That
they if
yes,
they're not if they're feeling that, if they're feeling undeserving, or they're not able to fully connect to feeling deserving, because
yes,
that in itself is shame. So
right,
it is also self-protective.
right.
That piece, that mechanism is self-protective. It's a way that your physiology, your body nervous system has been able to protect you for a while. And
Hmm.
so, but it outwears its welcome, because then it becomes
Hmm.
destructive to your mind, body, and soul. So we want to be able to heal that
Right.
part, so when we can develop new healthy patterns and a new healthier state, and be able to overcome these kind of old patterns of self-protection that are not serving us anymore.
Mm, I told you, Reverend Deacon Doctor in the house, talking some truth here. Um, Speaking of truths, we're going to take another quick break, but we got more with Ife coming up, where we're going to be talking about going a little bit deeper into boundaries and how boundaries are actually an opportunity for compassion for ourselves and other people. So we're going to take this break and we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Do you see me kneeling on this dual roller called Parasetter? It's actually comfortable because of this channel and the softness of the special foam. It feels like my kneecaps are being massaged. When I lie down, my spine is housed in this channel, while the convex rollers massage my muscles. They let go and lengthen. There's a traction effect from my head on the headrest and my mid-back from the rib wrap, which hugs me. When I start the breathing sequence, I feel calm because my cortisol levels are dropping. Lower cortisol means bye-bye constant hunger. Parasetter is 40 inches long and much more comfortable than old-style rollers, but it weighs only 10 ounces. Parasetter, just like Pilates was, is no longer an insider secret. Do yourself a favor. Reset your parasympathetic nervous system. Defeat stress. Lying, sitting, kneeling, or standing. This unique patented roller helps everyone.
Six years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
Hey, you. We are back here with more on Soulivity today as we continue our series on how to manifest your best life through the process of somatic healing. With me is MORA, somatic trauma healer and educator. Ife, I'm so glad you're here. Again, the great conversation today on all these different aspects of life living through, the connection of mind, body, spirit, to taking action to manifest the life that we want through service, right? Which I call purpose. And there's another part that you kind of touched on in the last segment, which is boundaries or setting limits, which is such an important part of living our best life, right? People, you can't live a best life without some kind of boundaries. It just is there, right? So you can have this openness to give and receive and all this. And as part of that process is having some boundaries and limits around things. And so, Ife,
Yes.
when you hear that word boundaries, what does it mean to you in the context of everything that we're talking about today?
So boundaries are a way that we're able to have consent over our bodies, consent over our minds, consent over our spirits, consent over our complete everything, our psyches, everything, right? And someone will have to ask permission to enter mind, body, spirit, soul, psyche. Someone has to ask permission to come in. But we're not taught this. Most of us aren't. Some of us are. And the ones who are taught that are very, very fortunate, right? But a lot of us are not taught this. And trauma survivors, especially, unfortunately, and I'm included in that, have no boundaries. And so a lot of the work I do with my clients immediately is we go into boundary work. And we do that by imagining having a 360-degree boundary bubble. And so this boundary bubble can go up and it's energetic and it can be fabulous and it can be built and created and made about with whatever you want it to be. But it's important to have some sort of imagery or visual there. So it represents, I have this boundary that you cannot come in unless you're invited, right?
All right.
So what that does, yes, and what that does is that it allows people to have reserve. It allows people to have to be able to conserve their own energy to heal and work on themselves, to rest, to recover, to repair. Because what happens if we're in survival physiology, in that back of the brain, the reptilian brain you were talking about earlier, a fight, flight, or freeze? When we're acting in survival physiology, we're spewing a lot, we're projecting a lot, we're putting a
Hmm.
lot of our stuff onto other people, and we're not aware that we're doing this. We're just like, kind of, here, take this, right? It's all of our stuff, all of our trauma, everything. And
Hmm.
the person who doesn't have boundaries will receive it entirely and internalize it. And then
Ooh,
they're experiencing secondary trauma.
right.
So not only are they dealing with their own trauma, they're dealing with someone else's trauma. And they're dysregulating each other's nervous systems. So boundary work is effective for, you stay over there. I'm giving you the opportunity to work on your own trauma, to work on your own stress. And I'm going to be over here
Hmm.
working in my boundary bubble on my own trauma and my own stress. And I need all the energy I can get and I can have in order to continue working on my unresolved trauma. I
Mm.
cannot
Mm.
afford to let in a lot of other people's trauma and energy, because it's going to dysregulate my nervous system. It's going to
Gotcha.
be harder for me to repair, right?
Mm.
And so it's an act of compassion. And I've learned this from some of my wonderful somatic experiencing practitioner teachers. It's an act of compassion because you're giving yourself compassion to
Hmm.
heal and the
Hmm.
opportunity to heal. And you're also giving someone else the opportunity to heal. So we can look at it as compassion for others as well. I feel so much compassion for you as a human, and I care so much about your well being that I'm going to create this boundary so you can't give and put into me all of your stuff, and you
Right.
can work on your own pain and suffering and trauma.
Mm. And I've just, as you're talking about this, I'm also seeing a connection between, you're setting a boundary or a limit where you're saying, hey, listen, you got to work on your stuff. I have to work on my stuff. But the
Mm-hmm.
journey that you're taking in parallel with these people also breeds empathy,
It
because
does.
as you go through your things and then maybe they're talking about something, you can completely relate to their journey and then give that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Such, man, you know
Absolutely.
I've never heard it put that way before. And it's a beautiful way, because now people don't have to, I know a lot of times people get kind of frozen around
Mm-hmm.
boundaries, and maybe I'm pushing somebody out and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. But this is actually a gift that you can actually be thankful and grateful for, because
Yes.
you're seeing it from the whole picture that's there.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, I love
A
it.
line, if I may, a line I love
Yeah,
to use, and I teach people this, is, I don't have the capacity, or I have the capacity, thinking about it in that way. Do I have the capacity right now to pick up that phone call for the
right.
person I know is not working on their trauma? And the conversation would be an hour long of
Hello.
negativity, right? And
Mm,
complaint. Do I have the
mm,
capacity for that, right?
wow.
Do I have the capacity to take on another job? Do I have the
Right.
capacity to go and do that other action? Right? So checking in with your body, again, this is somatic work. This is mind body work. Let me check in with my body to see if I have the capacity to do that thing. Or do
Right.
I have enough capacity just for what I have to do and all my responsibilities and tasks for the day? Right.
Wow. And I'll footnote this with something that uh you gave me in your notes about today, and that is allowing others to violate your boundaries will continue to set you back in your growth.
It will.
So
It
you
will.
can continue to do the stuff that is your normal,
Mm-hmm.
and you can even move into things like blaming others about how you're feeling about what their energy is, and their unresolved trauma. But until you put up a boundary, that's just going to be the script that runs over and over and over, like a broken record, right? Remember, you and I both remember records. So,
Oh yeah, and they come back
the
in
young
style.
folks don't know about that kind of thing, but it's that whole thing that just repeats.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
my guess is this also relates to something you said earlier, and that is about finding safety in the body, right? Because now that you've set a limit and you're now doing your work, it probably elevates the level of safety that you have, that you feel, because now you're not dealing with something that's external to you. You're dealing with your own internal trauma and feelings and pain and that kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely. It gives you the opportunity to be with that. And you're right, boundary work can be very uncomfortable, because that means that some people are going to get pissed off. Excuse my little French there.
Yeah, that's all
Some
right.
people are,
That's all right. Francais is welcome. Francais is acceptable.
some people are going to get really upset. They're going to, because they're used to you not having boundaries. They're used to you picking up the phone and talking to them, listening to them complain for 2 hours, right? So they're used to you not having the boundaries. And so some people are going to be upset, and and you might even lose some quote unquote friends. You might lose some people who have been taking advantage of you for a while, that you have maybe considered a friend, but maybe they haven't been real friends. So it's actually a really good thing. And so we can start really focusing our attention on the community and the people that really are able to share this journey with you of healing, that you can inspire them in this beautiful way. They can receive, and then they can embark on their own journey of healing. And there's so many people I work with that inspire their entire families when they implement their boundary work. And then their family members or their friends see them going through transformations, and they say, wow, what is it that you're doing? And what do you mean when you tell me you don't have the capacity to do this with me this weekend? What do you mean by that? You used to have FOMO. You used to want to show up for everything. Now you don't have the capacity to do that thing this weekend. What do you mean by that? And wow, you're going through this beautiful transformation. What are you doing? And I want to learn. And then their seeking spirit opens up, and that action piece starts to take place, because someone's healing journey inspired another person. Someone's boundary inspired another person to heal. And those are the people that stick around. But the people, unfortunately, that are not ready to heal, they're not ready. That's all. They go on their separate ways, and that's okay. And that's okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, that old adage of people stick around in your life for a reason, season, or lifetime. And it is natural for change to come, specifically in your relationships with other people. And as you grow, you will notice that people either will stay or leave, right? And if the people who are staying are actually a lot of times joining you in their growth and expansion and healing process. And what a wonderful relationship it is when you have some people in your life that are all doing this work, and you're actually showing compassion and empathy, and you're celebrating successes, and you're celebrating and acknowledging, this pain that you're now coming into awareness and releasing. Right. I mean, it is a beautiful way of living. Again, it is part of creating your best life today.
Absolutely.
Just want to kind of touch again on this safety piece, that in terms of us having it in our, feeling safe in our bodies. And I mean, we've been kind of touching on it all through this talk today, and in other parts.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you tell people to expect, right? I want to make this more practical, so that when people come to see you, and everybody better go see Ife, what are the practical things that you tell people? Okay, we're beginning this process. We're going to be creating safety in the body. What does that actually look like when you're doing somatic healing with a person?
So I love to use a technique created by Dr. Peter Levine called pendulation. And pendulation comes from an awareness that we're able to come in and out of activation and settling with ease. And so we're always going to get activated. We're always going to feel some sort of stress, and our nervous systems will activate. And then if we get stuck in that activation or not, it depends on how well we're able to self-regulate. So then we can be able to come out of activation with more ease as we learn how to heal. So thinking about that in terms of healing is Dr. Peter Levine's explanation for pendulation. And so when we pendulate, I like to take my clients through an exercise of exploratory orienting in the environment. What are some safety points in your environment that you might be experiencing? And we can all do this, right? If you're driving or if you're in your home or you're listening, what are some of the things that really kind of feel safe for you as you look around your environment?
Mm-hmm.
What is
Mm-hmm.
that experience like internally? So you're kind of going, and pendulation is like this inner pendulum swinging back and forth. Yeah, so it's like a kind of swinging back and forth, the in and the out, a kind of rhythm, the rhythm that the body has. Pendulation is this kind of rhythm that the body has very naturally. So we use it for healing and somatic experiencing. So moving in and out, as I experience something safe on the outside, what am I
Mm-hmm.
experiencing in the inside? Right. And as
Mm.
I experience, can I find safety in the inside? If I experience some sort of pain or discomfort, that usually is a sense of threat to the brain that there's something happening in the body. Stress also feels like a threat for the nervous
Mm-hmm.
system and brain. So that
Mm-hmm.
feels like unsafe. So how can I find safety simultaneously in the body? And so we move back and forth between the two areas of safety and threat. Safety and threat. That's pendulation, the inner pendulum moving back and forth. And so we're able to
Wow.
achieve this coherence, this kind of organization, this natural biorhythm of the body moving in and out, until finally the nervous system wants to settle. And when that nervous system settles, it's like a signal to the brain that says this organism called Ife, this organism called Brian, is no longer under threat. We can come off a high alert and we can settle. And then that
Wow.
feels like balance. It feels like health. It doesn't necessarily feel calm. It just feels like
Right. Right.
I'm good. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I
So
mean,
that's
we're
a
giving
technique I
ourselves
like to use.
we're giving ourselves a choice, right? And of
Yeah.
either feeling one way or the other. But if we're always on one side, that's our normal. That's all we ever feel. We don't know that there's another piece there that
Yeah.
exists. Wow, that's so good. Oh man, Ife.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that's
we
somatic
always running
work.
up on
That's somatic work.
we always running up on time. You know, we're gonna have to
Yeah.
have a workshop
But
or
I want to
something.
say, we're going
Yeah.
to have a workshop, you and I together. And I want to say, I appreciate you, Brian, and I appreciate this work that you're
Oh,
doing,
oh,
because this is the
appreciate you.
action we're talking about. And this is the action we're talking about, and the ability to be of service and that passion, right? And being able to provide this and give this as a gift to
Mm,
everyone who has the opportunity to listen. And you bring so many like-minded individuals and
mm,
healers and practitioners to your platform, and give them an
mm,
opportunity and conversation with you to express and to teach and to give an offering. And it's
mm,
wonderful, wonderful work. So I
mm,
want to invite you to just feel into that healthy pride in your body, and notice where in the body you experience it and what it feels
mm.
like.
Oh, thank you, sweet. Thank you, sweet, sweet. I appreciate you. I appreciate you too. Listen, speaking of this sweet angel who's been just giving me all these kind of props, you have a wonderful website and a wonderful event that is coming up soon on March the 23rd on Saturday, right? Can you tell people about this
Yes.
event? And they can learn more about it
Yeah.
by going to your website, but really quickly.
So I'm talking about manifesting with somatic healing, which is my method, and wanting to teach people how to manifest prosperity in their life, all the goodness that they're seeking in their life through healing, embodiment healing, mind, body, soul healing, somatic healing of the body. And so I'm teaching a little workshop. We'll be doing a little bit of education for my method. We'll also have the opportunity to experience it. And then we'll be in a group. So we'll be doing the work collectively and we'll experience some somatic collective healing. And after
Mm.
that, I've invited my sound healing team, which Madison, Clarity, and Jennifer, they're incredible sound healers. Um, I believe that sound is powerful and instruments are powerful for healing. So I love to integrate that into the work. And as people are really deeply embodied, feeling their inner states, they're able to then feel the sounds, the medicine from the music, and go deeper into that experience. And as
Wow.
Clarity and Jennifer and Madison, as they're doing the sound healing, I then come around and I start to work with the body with touch. And so part of my modality is working with helping to regulate the nervous system with
Hmm.
touch. Touch is very, very powerful. So I go around and I work with
Wow.
individuals that way. And then
Wow.
afterwards, we have a plant-based meal together and community provided by Earth Fairy Foods. And so it's just a wonderful time to gather and heal and get to know like-minded people. It's happening in Los Angeles and Encino. So you can go to my website and register quickly because there's actually only several spots left
Hmm.
because there is a 30 people capacity. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's going to be a wonderful
Fantastic.
experience. Hmm.
Oh man. Well, I'm glad you've been here and talking about this stuff. We only have a few more seconds, so I've just got to let people know. Listen, learn more about Ife Mora by going to ifemoro.com. Also, join us on our YouTube channel where you can learn more about us there. Listen, until next time, keep working your passion and purpose, and you're going to create that best life today. We'll see you at 8 a.m. Pacific time at KMET 1490 AM radio. For all you guys out on the south, on the West Coast. See you next time. Bye for now.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC